Switch Radio Sport. This is Switch.
Worcester City win that game and they will be in Division 1 Midlands next season.
Chance in ball control. Job's got chance in the penalty. He gets shot in and goes to the back of the net. And Cheyenne Jarvis gets the second goal for Leaford Athletic this afternoon. Found space in the 6-yard box.
Back to the edge of the penalty area with the pass. Cross in towards the back post. Headed goalwards and in.
That's a great shot from De Castro. Oh, what a save for Gray. And the red kid 2-0.
Stourbridge have won the Division 1 Midlands title.
The Women's Football Chat on Switch Radio.
Good evening, welcome along to the Women's Football Chat on Switch Radio. Chris Gadsby with you here through until 6 o'clock this evening, bringing you all of the very latest from the third and fourth tiers of women's football here in England. That's the FA Women's National League, and we've got what was a pretty much full programme in the FAWNL to go through. We'll go through what that means for all of the league tables as well, plus there is a look ahead to the second round of the Women's FA Cup. There are though still 2 league fixtures taking place this weekend. Also on today's show, you'll hear from Millie Kirk and Harry Rowe after Sutton Coldfield Town got a good 3-1 win away at Lincoln.
It's just what we'd worked on in the week, and it was just being at the right place at the right time and making that run and anticipating where the ball was going to be, and managed to get my head on it, and I think it might have bounced off a couple of players before it went in, but I was claiming it anyway.
Yes, all of that to come then here on the Women's Football Chat, but we will get straight down to it, and straight away we will go and have a look at the results from the past 7 days. It's been a pretty quiet week in terms of news, so not a lot to discuss, which is why we're going to go and get straight down to it with the results from the past 7 days. We'll start in the Northern Premier Division. Burnley beating Derby County by 2-0 to keep up their charge at the top of the table. Millie Ravening and Charlie Chadwick with the goals for Burnley. Liverpool Feds, they beat Halifax by 1-0. Great result for Liverpool Feds there on the road. Emily Cole, 10 minutes from time with the only goal in that one, puts Liverpool Feds even further away from the bottom two. Hull City got a 2-1 away win against Middlesbrough. Ellie Tanser and Hope Knight with the goals for Hull City. Just 4 minutes apart, those goals. So quick-fire scoring for Hull. Middlesbrough, Sarah Byrne with their only goal. West Bromwich Albion got the victory over Sporting Cowser by 3-1. Sporting Cowser had Megan Cann sent off in the second half in this one as well. But Lucy Day, Ellie May plus an own goal means that West Bromwich Albion take all 3 points. Daisy Wickett, the only goal of the game for Sporting Cowser just after the half-hour mark. Rugby Borough beat Stoke City by 1-0. Very, very late goal in this one for Rugby. Ebony Wiseman in the 95th minute with the only goal of the game. It gave Rugby all 3 points, and that is important for them when you look at the Northern Premier Division table, which we will do in a moment. And Wolverhampton Wanderers, they also left it late to beat Loughborough Lightning, a 94th minute winner for Wolves. Loughborough, they got 2 goals right before the half-time break. Doris Greenwood, 45th minute and 45th plus 4. I mean, the Loughborough actually went in at the break in the lead. Beth Merrick had put Wolves in front just after the half-hour mark before those 2 goals for Greenwood. Then Charlotte Greengrass equalised for Wolves in the 67th minute before Amber Hughes put them in front deep into added time in front of just over 600 fans. What that has meant for the Northern Premier Division table is Burnley, Wolves and Rugby all won. So at the top, it is exactly the same as it was before. So Burnley first on 26 points, Wolves in second on 25, but with a game in hand. Rugby Borough in third on 23. So the top 3 separated by 3 points. It's becoming pretty clear that that will be the top 3 at the end of the season, because there is now a 9-point gap back to West Bromwich Albion in 4th. However, West Brom do have a game in hand, but as I said, there is a 9-point gap. So Burnley, Wolves and Rugby feels fairly comfortable to say already that they are going to be the top 3 come the end of the season, particularly now as for the majority of teams, even though we're only in mid-November, we are only 1 game shy of the halfway point of the season. 9 points is a lot to make up in the second half of the campaign. So West Brom are in 4th on 14 points. Middlesbrough are in 5th also on 14. Hull City are in 6th also on 14. Liverpool Feds up a place into 7th on 13. Stoke, after conceding that late goal to Rugby, are down 3 places to 8th on 11. Derby County are on 10 points in 10th on 9. Sporting Cowser on 6 in 10th, outside the relegation zone on goal difference, although Loughborough have got 1 back on them in that regards. They are now only 3 goals back in 11th, and Halifax bottom of the table in 12th. So very much a sort of top 3, maybe a bottom 3. There's a little bit of a gap forming, and then 4 points separating 4th from 9th. So you expect there's going to be quite a lot of movement in those mid-table positions between, well, pretty much every single week between now and the end of the season. Southern Premier Division then, Billericay Town 1, Lewis 4. Billericay with a consolation goal towards the end. Olivia Carpenter had put Lewis in front on 26 minutes, quickly followed by Leah Lane on 29 minutes, making it 2-0. Then Katie Gilligan, who came on at half-time, scored with 4 minutes to go to make it 3-0. Nia Evans then got that goal for Billericay Town to make it 3-1 before Paula Howes in the 95th minute made it 4-1. So Lewis with the 3 points in that one. Exeter City get a 2-0 win over AFC Wimbledon. 1 goal in each half. Madeline Durant in the first, Ishbel Zermond in the second, where Wimbledon end up making the long trip to Exeter and going back with nothing. Plymouth Argyle beat Oxford United by a 1-0 in this one. Big win for Plymouth away at Oxford. Real Bedford against Bournemouth, that was postponed due to the waterlogged pitch. So they will now have a game in hand. United beat Cheltenham by a 0-0. Honor Norton with the goal for United. But Watford, the big winners of the day, 7-0 over Gwalior United. A hat-trick for Madison Perry. In fact, a 14-minute hat-trick for Madison Perry in the 55th, 60th and 69th minute. Isabella Fisher had scored 2 early on, 12th and 21st. Megan Chandler had got one in the 36th minute as well. So Wolves were 3-0 up at the break. Poppy Wilson with the other goal for Watford as they win by 7 goals to 0. What that means for the Southern Premier Division table, Watford are top of the table now. They have they have pulled 3 points away from AFC Bournemouth because Bournemouth didn't play. They've got the better goal difference as well. Plymouth Argyle are 3rd still. Real Bedford still 4th, but Real Bedford now have a game in hand, but they are now 10 points away from the top of the table. Exeter City are up a place. Lewis are up 3 places, and United are up a place in 5th, 6th and 7th respectively. Cheltenham Town are down 3. Oxford United down 2 into 8th and 9th. Then Gwalior United remain in 10th. They are 2 points clear of AFC Wimbledon in 11th on 8 points. And Billericay Town on no points at the bottom of the table with a minus 63 goal difference. Again, Southern Premier Division, apart from that one game, everyone is now just one game shy of the halfway point of the season. If everything goes to plan and all of the games are played as they are expected, and some teams will have played 12-13 games by the time we get to that Christmas break. Into Division 1 Midlands then. Barnsley Women's 0, Peterborough United 0. Peterborough United's 100% record goes as they are held to a 0-0 draw with Barnsley Women's. Lincoln United 1, Sutton Coldfield Town 3. 1 for Millie Kirk, who you'll hear from in a moment here on Switch Radio, and 2 for Rhea Henry for Sutton Coldfield Town. They get all their scoring done in the first half. They're 3-0 up by half time, and then Amanda Miller gets 1 back for Lincoln United in the second half. But it's Sutton Coldfield Town who get the 3 points. There was a big game towards the bottom, Northampton Town against Stourbridge. Goal in this one, Darcy Cartwright, just before the break, giving Stourbridge a very, very valuable 3 points. Worcester City against Sheffield. Sheffield beating them by 4-1. Stacey Buxton, 18th minute. Then Lucy Trail, then 55th minute. Lexi Butterworth, 59th. And Becky Kendall in the 62nd. It was 1-1 at the break. Keris Dolloway in the 41st minute with the goal for Worcester City. So 1-1 at the break. Then Sheffield scoring 3 unanswered goals in the second half. Boldmere St Michael's 2, Kidderminster Harriers 0. Win for Carl Henry and his side, who finished the game with 10. Janelle Starker and Riddy Rapalia with the goals for Boldmere. Latea Bojang was sent off, but in the 93rd minute, so it didn't really have much of an impact on the game. And finally, for Division 1 Midlands, Leafield Athletic beating Notts County by 1-0 thanks to a 93rd minute goal from Anita Gaspar. So Notts County very close to getting something from that away game with Leafield Athletic. What it means for the league table: Peterborough United remain top. They have played 9, they have 25 points, 8 wins and a draw. Leafield Athletic are upper place into second on 21 points, so 4 points back, as are Boldmere St Michael's, who are in third, just 1 goal behind Leafield Athletic. Barnsley Women's drop to 4th after that draw with Peterborough United. Then Sheffield remain 5th, Notts County remain 6th, Worcester City remain 7th. Sutton Coldfield Town in 8th are upper place after they got that 3-1 victory, and they replaced Kidderminster Harriers in 8th. Kidderminster dropped to 9th, and then big move towards the bottom. Stourbridge, with that 1-0 victory over Northampton Town, are upper place. They are now out of the relegation zone. 10th for Stourbridge, 11th for Northampton Town on 5 points, and Lincoln United on 1 point at the foot of the table. Northampton Town, such a change for them to go from finishing last season in second, 8 points behind Loughborough Lightning, to now being close to the halfway point a season afterwards and being down in 11th. But one of the big winners of the day were Sutton Coldfield Town. They got that 3-1 victory over Lincoln United. With results elsewhere, they now have a 5-point gap between themselves and the bottom 2. Let's hear then from, firstly, midfielder Millie Kirk, who got one of those goals for Sutton Coldfield Town, and then the manager Harry Rowe after that fabulous performance for Sutton Coldfield Town.
Melly, I cannot remember the last time I spoke to you, actually. It's been absolutely ages. It's great to catch up with you again. We seem to catch up from club to club, don't we?
Yeah,
part of my broadcasting journey, part of your club journey in women's football as well. But here we are at Sutton Coldfield Town, and congratulations for the performance today against Lincoln United. 3-1 victory against Lincoln United women. Good result all round, and certainly a star performance from yourself, actually. Good performance from yourself, actually, Millie. But let's talk about this game in a bit more detail. Before we go into the goals in particular that were scored during the game as well, Millie, what was your thoughts on preparing for this game? Because did it help having that little bit of break between the matches? You played Barnsley on the 2nd. Having that sort of, in effect, 14-day break must have been an absolute godsend for all the squad to prepare properly for this potentially tricky away game this afternoon, Millie.
Yeah, of course. It just gives us a lot more time to kind of look at certain aspects in depth, really. We did a lot on set pieces this week, which of course, shown by the goals, obviously it came off. So it just gives us a lot more time to prepare, really.
Yeah, set piece is a good point you make there, actually, because, I mean, Rhea Henry's goal in 13 minutes, and a great cross from Jodie Price, and there were set pieces that relate to other goals as well. Let's talk about that one to begin with. I got the impression that Jodie thought, I know where Rhea's going to be this when I put the ball in. That looked to me like something you think about and talk about in training during the course of the week. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, we worked a lot on crosses and set pieces over the past few weeks, especially this week. And I think it's just about people having a role on where they need to be and sticking with it and just getting it done, and we did today. It showed it paid off.
Absolutely. Great cross by Jodie Price. Good she found a lot of space on the flank as well. It's good to see full-backs who in effect can bomb forward and become almost like extra wingers going forward for the club.
Yeah, of course, I think we want to get the wingers forward. Creates a nice overload further up the pitch, and it just means that we can be a little bit more creative when we've got a lot more players in the final third.
I thought the match might have been called off this weekend with the weather conditions, but I was quite surprised how, for a grass pitch this time of the year, Millie, it was quite good to play on, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I think in certain areas it was cut up, but I think we played on probably worse grass pitches, and I think we was all glad that it was on, to be honest. I think if we went back there in December or the new year, it probably would have been in a lot worse conditions. So we were all up for it. We wanted the game to be on, and I think that showed in the result that we were up for it. Yeah,
definitely. The preparation to put in during the course of the week leading up to the game as well. And I could sense the squad really wanted to have this game to go ahead. And it was a great performance all round. Now, we can't finish out talking about your goal as well. A neat finish from yourself. Talk us through your goal, Millie.
Yeah, I think it was just what we'd worked on in the week, and it was just being at the right place at the right time and making that run and anticipating where the ball was going to be, and managed to get my head on it. And I think it might have bounced off a couple of players before it went in, but I was climbing it anyway.
All counts though, doesn't it? Certainly does all count, really. But a good example, like with your goal and the goal we just talked about, the previous one with Rhea Henry's goal, that get balls in the right areas. Talking about the preparation, was that something you thought you could really hurt with Lincoln this afternoon? Because they did struggle to do a lot of set pieces throughout the course of 90 minutes, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, and I think it was more so not even to do with Lincoln. It was to do with perhaps our inconsistency in set pieces, defensive and attacking. That it was something that we didn't look like we were a threat, and we needed to be, because under the cosh against certain teams, you need that corner, you need that free kick, and we need to be able to put them away. So working on it just meant that it's added to our quality going, in the attacking phase a little bit more.
That's so important though, isn't it? Because, I mean, if you're going to be playing games, which will come on to forthcoming games at the moment, actually, we're going to play games where it's going to be tight. Clear-cut chances are going to be an absolute bare minimum. Yeah. If you've got a strategy to be effective on corners and set pieces and free kicks, that's a nice thing to have in your weapon as a backup thing to refer to. That your regular style of football can't create those immediate chances for you.
Yeah, of course. I think we just got to be able to put our chances away, and then if we can't and we're under the cosh, we need to be able to score from different areas of the pitch.
Rhea Henry got on a score sheet as well, 3 goals, and they got a consolation goal, Amanda Miller, to make it 3-1 the final score. But nevertheless, a real dominant performance as well. Good to see Harry made changes, bringing on people like, Amber Taylor. I don't know much about Amber. Obviously, you work with her, you train with her. But Amber Taylor's a new prospect for me, because it's really fascinating for me. All these years I've been following this club, it's still great to see new players come through every season. Actual football, really, is it, to a certain point, Millie? But you may have known each other a long time. But is it refreshing to see that every year you see new young players come through?
Yeah.
Does that inspire you to keep on playing football as well to a certain point?
Yeah, of course. I think we've had quite a young squad, really, but like I said, their attitude's been spot on, and they've applied themselves really well, and they're very coachable, and I think that's really important at a young age, to be coachable and to have the right attitude. And to be honest, I can't fault any of the young players that we've got at all, and that's probably what's kickstart our second half of the season, hopefully to be a little bit more successful. But yeah, they've all applied themselves really well, and I think everyone's happy with them.
Results, like I say, to sort of like put that sort of positive mentality forward, doesn't it, really? But so a great 3 points this afternoon, actually. We're looking at some interesting games. Birmingham City in the County Cup, then Kidderminster Harriers away, home against Sheffield, and if it goes ahead weather-wise, of course, away against Stanbridge to finish off this first half of the season. Obviously, you want to get hyped the table as much as you possibly can. This win could really sort of kickstart a good period for the club now, couldn't it, really? Because the County Cup is the County Cup. It's one of those things, and when you play Birmingham City. But to be fair to say, the league is definitely the priority now. Yeah. But Kiddie, Sheffield and Stanbridge on the horizon, they're all 3 potentially winnable games, aren't they?
Yeah, they're 3 really important games, but also 3 really tough games. I think we've obviously played a lot of teams a bit higher up the table this side of Christmas, and I think it's been tough. But every team has got 3 points in them. It showed today, Lincoln, they had quality, and they can easily go and beat teams in the league, and they're rock bottom. So I think no game's 3 points, but we'll definitely give it a good go. And I've got full faith in the team that we'll get 3 points, but we also know that no team in this league is a walkover.
It's a good point you mentioned actually, Melly, because I didn't think Lincoln looked like a team that preparing for Tier 5 football. I thought Times have played some good football this afternoon.
Yeah, no, of course. I think it's a credit to them, really, because they're in a difficult situation, obviously being bottom of the league, and they haven't got a win yet, but it didn't look like that was going to stop them from trying to do how the manager wanted them to play football. And I think, in a way, that probably is the best way to prepare for Tier 5 football, is if you can play well in Tier 4 and they do get relegated, they should be able to come straight back up.
Absolutely. And, you mentioned about the squad and young players coming through. It's a good sort of young knit group, this group at Sutton Coldfield Town as well. But looking beyond those games I just mentioned, New Year as well, there'll be some interesting away matches to contend with. Maybe not so many long trips, what we've done today. Lincoln, Barnsley possibly. That's probably a long one, to be fair. But do you think, well, two parts to this really. When the Stourbridge game comes and passes, come on the 14th of December, when the mid-season break kicks in, you want to be a strong idea where you're going to be in terms of the league. But also, more importantly, do you think you'll have a real sort of standing where you're going to be in the league by, say, January, February time?
Yeah, we'd hope so. And I think there's also been, it's been a weird results over the past few weeks. So sometimes you can hope to be in a certain position, and we might end up being a bit higher depending on the results, in and around us. But of course, we hope to just get as high up as we possibly can. Really, it was a disappointing start to the season, and we needed to put that to bed and just work on how we can get as high up the table as we can now.
Harry, congratulations. 3-1 victory today against Lincoln United. Solid performance all round. Solid individual and team performances, really, to be fair. Job done. From start to finish, you felt like everybody knew their role on the pitch for the 90 minutes. And by and large, everybody executed the plan perfectly for yourself at the 3 points this afternoon, Harry.
Yeah, I think you've summed up quite well there in terms of it was some really good individual performances, but as a collective, I thought we were brilliant. Like you said, we knew our roles. We knew what we wanted to do. We had a clear plan in place. And I thought we stuck to it brilliantly. I thought we really found ways to exploit Lincoln and what they offer. And I think the first goal sort of sums up how we want to play football anyway. I think, I was really proud of the first goal in terms of the build-up play that led to it, the way we worked the ball from one side to the other, the way we found those spaces. And don't get me wrong, the quality in the cross and the quality in the finish is fantastic. But yeah, really, really pleasing. If I want to be hypercritical, I'm disappointed it's not a clean sheet. But we dominated the game. We never really looked like we were going to lose the game. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't perfect. We had moments where we probably were a little bit naive at times and gave them a little bit more opportunity than we would have liked. But overall, really happy. We controlled the game. We managed the game really, really well. And it could have been a banana peel, but I think we got through the game unscathed. No injuries, no real issues in terms of going forward. So yeah, really, really pleased.
You mentioned that point about potentially a banana skin situation, but you've got a group of players that are certainly maturing week by week, aren't they? I know how incredibly young squad it is, though, Harry, to be fair, but let's talk on that first goal in a bit more detail, shall we? I spoke to your colleague Millie Kirk about this when I spoke to her after the game as well, and it did seem to be symptomatic of the way you got understanding where players know where each other's going to be, because Jodie Price puts a cracking cross in. I've got to say, I was in a right position to saw the ball being whipped over, but my thought process was like, she must have thought Rhea Henry's going to run to this at some point, so put it in the sort of the area we've been talking about in training as players and have discussions, because players have their own sort of separate conversations, don't they? But that's a great cross here. Like, I'll put it in the area, someone's going to latch onto that and put it away, aren't they?
Yeah, I think, like you said, at the start of the season, we were very new. Although we've got players that have got high quality, we've had a big turnaround. Everyone knows it. It's not a secret that we've had a big turnaround. We've had a big change in the way we operate as a club from staffing. We've brought in a complete new staffing set. We've had a big change in players, and it was going to take time. Probably took it a little bit longer than I would have liked. In terms of getting that connection, getting those dynamics. But now I think we're starting to see the ability of the group. Like you said, there a lot of our players have now known each other long enough to know where they're going to be. There's a great understanding across the group, and you can see that off the pitch as well. They understand each other. They work really, really hard for each other, and it's really pleasing for me because it makes it easier when people know where they're going to be, and those relationships are really important. And it's really important that we get that consistency with those partnerships and starting to understand which players work well with which players, which front line looks the best, who brings what to each sort of side that we pick on a Sunday. But quality of the cross from Jodie's fantastic. Rhea's header coming off balance is fantastic well. But it wasn't just that, it's the way we managed to work the ball beforehand, the way we managed to get the ball out. It starts with our left centre half and finishes with our right wing back putting it across to the box. So really pleasing, and it's one that we're certainly happy with and one that we'll certainly go and praise the goals with.
Mentioned about the relationships, of course, and Caitlin Smith also played really well today. I mean, it's really, from my point of view, actually, Harry, it's really difficult to pick a player that didn't underperform because, as I said at the start of this conversation, I think everybody knew their exact role for 90 minutes. I'm sure you have them all drilled what you want to do for a game of football anyway. But your thoughts on Lincoln? Because they don't look like a team that should be right at the bottom of the table, I'm being brutally honest. I've only seen them maybe 2 or 3 times this season, but I think they play some good football at times.
Yeah, it's the first I've seen of them. And I think the fact that they are towards the bottom shows the level of the league. You know, I think it's...
The strength of Tier 4 now.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much a reflection on them. I think it just shows the quality that we've got. You know, people tipped us to be down there, and so far we've had a really good start, you know, a really good few results. But like we've proven, we drew with Barnsley last week, and then this week they're drawing with top of the league. So anyone can take points off anyone. You know, Stourbridge picking up points at Northampton, Lerry's. It's so competitive. And I think Lincoln are just currently in probably a little bit of form that is difficult to get out of. We had it at the start of the season where we went 2 or 3 games not scoring many, conceding more than we would have liked, and it was difficult. But no, I think they will start to pick up points. You know, I don't think they're going to sit there with 1 point for the rest of the season. Of course, they've got good players and they have got good ability. And like you said, they do play some good football at times. I think it was just for us controlling that. It was managing that from our perspective and making sure that we didn't. We wanted to come here with 3 points. We wanted to come here scoring goals, and we did that today.
We'll touch on other games in a moment, actually, Harry, but talk about your bench options, bringing on players like Amber Taylor, Eva Casting, Emily Hornsby as well. Amber Taylor, I know players Ellie Gibbs and Charlotte Felton, of course. I've seen them play for a few times for the club as well, but Amber Taylor's a new one for me, new prospect in that respect. Is it quite comforting that you mentioned earlier on that, you know, I knew it was going to take time for your team to get to know each other. You've had to pretty much rebuild the entire team, in effect, in like, what, a 3-month period? Yeah. It's a very short period of time to get a bunch of players to get to know each other and start gelling for the first half of the season. But now we're coming towards the stage where, I know it's on the coach from to Lincoln, you see groups of players get to talk to each other. They're forming their own sort of relationships outside the training pitch for 90 minutes. But having the newbies like Amber Taylor involved as well, is it still quite exciting? You think you've got a group of players you can still mould over the weeks and months ahead?
Yeah, I think those of the people that were around pre-season would have known it was a difficult pre-season. You know, we went through pre-season, we didn't win a game. We really struggled with teams that we should probably be beating, and it was going to take time. And it was part of my message to the girls was, look, it's not going to happen overnight. You know, like you said, we built a squad from scratch. A lot of the players that are in the starting 11, starting 18 for the weeks last year weren't with the club, or certainly weren't high profile players at the club. You know, we've kept a core in terms of our defence, but looking ahead of probably our back 4 or 5 players, it's a new squad, it's a new group. Yeah, I think like I said, the girls are brilliant. You know, they came in this season in a really difficult position. They've worked so hard, and the work isn't done yet. Like we know that we've got more to give. We know we want to keep pushing. We want to keep looking at how we can try and climb the lead rather than looking at how we try and stay away from the bottom. We want to be climbing and looking forwards. But like you mentioned, I think week on week we got better. I think week on week we're getting stronger, and it always helps. We've got new additions. You know, like we know with women's football, players will come and go throughout the season. It's not not as simple as you got 2 transfer windows and it's just you have your squad. There's a lot more that goes into it than that. But no, I think Amber's a great addition. She's raw. She's raw, but what you can see physically, she's gifted. And it's just trying to find that balance between those games where we want her physicality, but also understand that she might give us a little bit less technically, but she'll certainly give us more physically, and we'll create a different edge. And it gives us more options, it gives us more variety. Like you said, it's a joy when I've got 3, 4, 5 different attackers that can do different things. That means that if I need to change it during a game, I can, or if I want to change it for a certain opposition, I can do. And it's a good headache to have. Like obviously for me, it means difficult conversations, but no, it's really pleasing. And like I said, I think where we're going is really positive. I think there's still a hell of a lot of work to do in terms of getting to where we want to be. But recent performances, recent sort of individual performances as well as showing that we're on the right track and we're moving in the right direction, and that's the pleasing thing for me.
And also on top of that as well, still getting good numbers of training. Week in, week out, your squad turns up as well. Interesting group of games on the horizon. Birmingham City Academy in the County Cup. Then you've got Kidderminster Harriers away, Sheffield at home, and Stourbridge before the mid-season break. Do you still think there's like 3 divisions in this division? And where do you sit at the moment in that? But also, do you think as well, you mentioned earlier on about teams getting good results. We should mention while we're talking here now, you know, Stourbridge beat Northampton today. Leafield, they only narrowly beat Notts County. So teams can beat each other on the day. It's not the given that the top 3, top 4 are always going to win week in, week out. But, with those games coming up as well, Harry, I just mentioned, and going into January as well, do you think it's going to be by say, late January, you'll have a real good idea where this team's going to be for this season and where you can push on? Because, I mean, you've had a great result today. to draw against Barnsley at home, I thought was a really credible point as well. It's going to be most clubs, most managers think, I need to know where we are by December. Are you probably thinking, no, we will know where we are really by late January, like January, February time?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it there. It's almost split into three. Previously it was like a two-legged race and you'd know who's going to win, and it was probably like a two-legged race in terms of survival as well. Whereas I think this year it's really exciting. Sheffield have come up and done really, really well. Northampton have dropped off, where people last season would have had them up there to be challenging again. And like we know with women's football, teams can change overnight. And we've got some games coming up. Some people might say that they're teams in and around us, so they're opportunities. I think that this year you can take points off anybody. And it is a real opportunity. Every game is. We've took some teams ahead of us quite close. Boldmere a couple of weeks ago was a really close affair. We've held Barnsley to a point, so we've been one of those teams that people will probably say, we expect this, and it's not happened. We knew we were going to have a tough start in terms of gelling, and we knew we were going to have a slow start in terms of getting those dynamics right. And I do believe we will start to push, but it could change in a week. So it's really important that we stay on the ground. We know, although we're starting to climb away from that drop zone as such, we've still got a lot of work to do. Mm-hmm. We want to be pushing towards the top half. We want to be pushing towards those teams that are around us, trying to get clear of them. But it's not going to happen overnight. We're not going to be perfect. It's a long season. It's not a case of just one game at a time. There is lots of games come thick and fast. So I think for a neutral it's brilliant, because this league is so challenging, and hopefully by January, February we can start to look and see where we're going to be. But it can change so quickly, this league, and teams will pick up points at any moment. So although you want to try and look at seeing what you need to do, you've just got to keep going and keep trying to challenge for whoever you've got in front of you. And each test is different, and we have to try and find ways around that.
Well, the final point about as well, Harry, are you still looking to keep on strengthening the squad? I mean, you've got a good number of players now. The squad numbers in terms of numbers, I know you were low in terms of numbers at the start of the season, but you've been adding to it, obviously. Good example is Rhea Henry, since she's come in, and the impact she's made as well. But are you still looking to bring players in maybe in the second half of the season as well?
I think it's subjective. I think at the start of the season we knew we needed numbers, so there was a really high focus on that sort of recruitment and who we bring in. But I was really clear from the start with the girls. As soon as I took the job, I was really clear on, I'm not just signing anybody. It has to be the right person for the environment. We have to get good people in that are willing to work hard, that understand what Sutton's about. And I think we're now starting to find that. I think we're now starting to really find our feet with the girls and their attitudes on the pitch and off the pitch. I say it every week, it is a bit of a cliche, but they are a joy to coach. They're a joy to work with. I have very few problems with anyone. They all understand the bigger picture. Yes, I've got individuals that aren't happy because they want to be playing and they're not. I've got individuals that are happier than they expected because they're playing and they didn't expect it. Mm-hmm. But no, I think moving forward for the second half season, it's really key that if we do look to add, it has to be the right person, and of course if there's a player of quality available, I'm always going to have a look at them and always going to see if they can improve us. But it's really important that we don't go and over recruit and then cause problems that we don't need to cause. I'm happy with the group I've got. I do think we could potentially be better in certain areas, but it's not a need, it's more of a want. It's more of those nice things to have. And look, the girls work really, really hard. They push each other every day, so I'm never going to complain about who I have to work with because they are fantastic. It's just like I've mentioned, it's just about making sure that if there is good players available and there's potential for that to happen, there has to be the good people that are in it for the right reasons and understand what we're about and what we're trying to achieve, and that it's probably a longer term project than short term success. But if they agree with that and they've got the quality to improve it, then I'm never going to say no.
Always great to hear from players after a victory. Big thank you to Millie Kirk and Harry Rowe on that one after Sutton Coldfield Town's victory over Lincoln United. Let's then go through to Division 1 North, which we will do, and we'll be right back after this break. Yes, Division 1 North then. This is a league which actually was affected by County Cup being played last weekend as well, but only one game taking place in that, so not too much disruption, although the postponement between Leeds United and York City meant there was one less game than planned. Chester Street Town beating Doncaster Rovers Bells by 4-0. Molly Wilcock opening the scoring early in the 6th minute. Laura Hockaday in the 37th minute, doubling the advantage before Georgia Gibson in the 43rd minute made it 3-0 by half time. She then got a second midway through the second half to give them a 4-0 lead, and that would be how the game finished. Chorley 0, Huddersfield Town 0. So a goalless draw between those two. Leeds United and York City postponed. Stockport County against Cheadle Town Stingers. A early goal for Cheadle, but they only win by a goal to nil. Imogen Portis-Williams with the goal in that one for the current league leaders. Wythenshawe, though, keeping pace with them. 2-0 winners over Blackburn Rovers. Chelsea Flanagan in the 19th minute and Amy Pracey in the 68th minute. What that means for the table is that Cheadle Town Stingers remain top, but only on goal difference. Their goal difference of 13, better than Wythenshawe's goal difference of 5. Those two are both 3 points clear of Huddersfield Town in third, who are on 19. But Leeds United have a game in hand after that postponement with York City, and they are on 17. So they could get to within 2 points of the leaders, and their goal difference is better than both of them if they win that game in hand. Chorley are upper place over Stockport County. Chorley's point better than Stockport County's defeat means that they are now on 16 points rather than Stockport's 15 to go into 5th. And the rest is all still the same. Norton Stockton Ancients did not play. They are in 7th. Chester Street Town won, but went from 7 points to 10 points. They were already ahead of Doncaster Rovers Bells in 9th on 6 points. Durham Sestra did not play either. They were in 10th on 4. York City did not play. They're in 11th on 4, and Blackburn Rovers lost. They are on no points from their 9 games, and they are bottom of the table. Into Division 1 South East, Chesham United losing to Actonians by 5-1. They got a consolation in stoppage time through Jenny Nagel, but Actonians 2 for Abigail Cargbo, 2 for Andreana Dunbar-Bonney, and 1 for Hannah Lalana with the winning goals for Actonians. London Bees beating Cambridge United by 3-1. Shamoy Campbell with 2, Millie Isherwood with 1 as well for London Bees. Cambridge United's only goal coming in the 49th minute to Zoe Wood after London Bees were already 3-1 up. Queen's Park Rangers drawing 2-2 with Luton Town. 2 for Jess Leach, 54th and 60th minute. Lisa Milliken for Luton Town, and Taylor O'Leary for Luton as well, in front of nearly 2,500 at Loftus Road. Great attendance for Queen's Park Rangers, and it sounds like it was a great game with a 2-2 draw. Norwich City, they got it done very, very late as well. A 3-2 win over Chatham Town. Ellie Jeffkins and Lucy Jones with the goals for Chatham Town. Norwich City, Grace Riglar, Natasha Snelling and Evie Williams with the goals for Norwich City, meaning they go 3-2 in front and get the win. What it means for the league table, Fulham did not play. They remain top though. Norwich City 1 point back in second from their 9 games. London Bees 3rd, Queen's Park Rangers 4th, Chatham Town 5th, Cambridge United 6th, Actonians 7th, Luton Town 8th, Dulwich Hamlet 9th, MK Dons 10th, AFC Sudbury 11th, Chesham United 12th. There is no movement at all in Division 1 South East after this weekend's games because, well, there was County Cup again. So AFC Sudbury were in County Cup action, as were MK Dons, which meant there were also, therefore, no games for Fulham, who didn't play, and Dulwich Hamlet didn't either. But it does again show there is a debate, and it happens every single year, this debate surrounding the county cups. Now obviously most teams in each county are eligible to play in the county cup. When you have got somebody like AFC Sudbury, who are struggling a little bit in Division 1 South East, although they are only 3 points away from safety, they've got a better goal difference than MK Dons, and they've got 2 games in hand. So take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt, but you also kind of feel that with Dulwich Hamlet already on 9 points and 8 points ahead of AFC Sudbury, that it's probably going to be 2 of those bottom 3, MK Dons, Sudbury and Chesham United, who go down. However, AFC Sudbury did play in the County Cup last weekend, and they won 21-0 against Stow Upland Falcons women, who I am not entirely sure off the top of my head which league they are in. But we have this thing again every single year where we look at it and we go, these are massive teams who are taking on not massive teams to try and get themselves through. In fact, Stoke and Falcons are in the Suffolk Women's League, so they're tier 7 against a tier 4 side, and they've lost 21-0. And you kind of feel like, where is the, maybe the not the chance, that's probably wrong. I kind of don't want to say what's the point of the game, but it becomes very obvious very early on that AFC Sudbury are going to win. Then it just becomes a game where you risk getting injured in the midst of a season where every single game is so important for AFC Sudbury. And similarly for MK Dons as well, who are in 10th but won 14-1 against Woodley United. It just feels a little bit, and there are some counties that do this very well. I think Norfolk is one where Norwich don't come in until the quarterfinals. Birmingham split theirs, so they've got a tier 4 and above one, and then a 5 to 7 one to avoid this as well. I do think, and we say it every single year, that the county cups, they need looking at, because there is just something about them at the moment that doesn't quite work, and it causes a lot of fixture congestion later on down the season as well. And fair play. Once these sides, once you get to the quarters, the semis, the final, they're great games. Just these early rounds where you're winning 21-0, I'm not sure if that's good for anybody really, to be doing something like that in the County Cup early on. I'm not sure who that benefits at all, and it's a similar situation in Division 1 South West. Swindon were playing in the County Cup. We'll get on to Division 1 South West in a moment, and they won 19-0. Who did that benefit other than a risk of an injury to a Swindon Town person? I mean, Swindon had 1, 2, 3 hat-tricks in that game. I mean, it's great for them, but I can't imagine it's particularly good for Corsham Town ladies. Let's look at Division 1 South West. There weren't a lot of goals in this, so it's not going to take much to go through them. Portishead Town beating Bournemouth Sports by 1-0. Great result for Portishead Town, their first win of the season. An 89th minute goal for Kimmy Tanner-Joyce, the difference in that game. But the big game was Bristol Rovers against Moneyfields. In front of 100 people, Shannon Albury, the only goal of the game for Moneyfields, gives them the 1-0 win. That's significant in the league table. Keynsham Town against Ascot United, 0-0 that one, by the way. Ascot United, coincidentally, then 2 days later, won in the County Cup as well. So it's been an okay week for Ascot United. But yeah, County Cup, you can get some good ones. Wycombe Wanderers of Tier 5 hosting Abingdon United of Division 1 South West, 1-1, 7-6 to Abingdon on penalties. Sounds great. But then the flip side, Swindon Town 19, Corsham Town 0. Very, very different sort of games in that one. The Division 1 South West table then, Moneyfields beating Bristol Rovers, who are in third. So Moneyfield up to the top of the table. Yes, they played a game more than Swindon Town. Swindon, of course, are still perfect. 8 wins out of 8. They weren't playing. They were in County Cup action, as we just discussed. Moneyfield's then a point clear. They've got a better goal difference than Swindon Town. That could prove to be crucial further on down the line. That's the only movement until you get to the bottom. So 3rd through 10th, Bristol Rovers, Bridgewater United, Abingdon United, Bournemouth Sports, Maidenhead United, Ascot United, Marine Academy, Plymouth and Keynsham Town, all still where they were. And it is still very tight. Abingdon United are in 5th. They're 4 points ahead of Keynsham Town, who are in 10th. Very, very close between all the mid-pack in Division 1 South West. The win for Portishead Town means they are no longer on the bottom of the table. Worthing have replaced them there on goal difference. Portishead Town in 11th now after that win over Bournemouth Sports. Worthing dropped down to 10th. Worthing, of course, didn't play. But Portishead Town getting a very, very important 3 points for them, meaning that, as I said, they are just 3 points now away from safety. Those are the results from the past 7 days in the FA Women's National League. We have 2 fixtures to look at and a full FA Cup second round. Don't forget, they are now 1 round away from the Championship sides entering, but we have plenty to look at between now and 6 o'clock here on Switch Radio, and we'll take a look at those after the break. This is the Women's Football Chat on Switch Radio. Still stuff to go through before Andrew Richards takes over with his Alternative 80s show at 6 o'clock. Let's then have a bit of a gander at 2 fixtures in the league coming up this weekend. But the main focus is the big FA Cup second round weekend. Division 1 South East then. AFC Sudbury against Dulwich Hamlets. The only game. This is one that was postponed earlier in the season. They're both out of the FA Cup. So there is a free weekend for them to go into it for. So AFC Sudbury at home. They could get out of the relegation zone if they win. Dulwich Hamlet would only climb 1 place if they were to win. But if they won, they'd be on 12 points. They'd only be 3 points away from 4th. That's how close Division 1 South East is. To be down in 9th, get 1 win and then be 3 points off 4th. So Division 1 South East could go a long, long way into the season before we know anything about what's going to happen. One other game, Division 1 South West, Maidenhead United against Marine Academy Plymouth, 7th against 9th. There's only 2 points separating them. They would both like to get a little bit further away from that relegation zone, particularly Marine Academy Plymouth. They've got a very kind of commendable goal difference, really, of just -1 through 8 games, particularly compared to those below them. Keynsham Town -13, Portishead Town -16, Worthing -23. And if Marine Academy Plymouth were to win, they would jump up 3 places and be in 6th, and then be 6 points clear of the relegation zone. So that is something that is a big pull for them. Maidenhead United would go up to 5th with a win and would be 8 points away. So both sides really want these 3 points for the same reason and for pretty kind of similar outcomes as well. So that has the potential to be a great game there at Maidenhead. Right, let's look at the Women's FA Cup. So there is one game to talk about taking place on Friday. It's the TV game between Wolves and Stoke City. So that's taking place on Friday. Women's FA Cup then, Bridgewater United of Division 1 South West against Royston Town of Tier 5. AFC Portchester of Tier 5 against Worthing of Tier 4. Is that potentially going to be an upset with Worthing bottom of Tier 4? An all Southern Premier Division tie between Cheltenham Town and Lewis. A great game in prospect. Leyton Orient, who are in Tier 7, but don't forget the calibre of player that Leyton Orient have. Most of the #United squad from last year. AFC Bournemouth currently flying high towards the top of the Southern Premier Division of Tier 3. London Bees against Portishead Town. South East against South West, that one. Bowers and Pitsea of Tier 5 against Sutton United of Tier 5. So we're guaranteed a Tier 5 side in the third round. They'll both be hoping that they are the ones to get through, and maybe they will get a championship side in the next round. Dartford of Tier 5 against Keynsham Town of Division 1 South West. Exeter City, Southern Premier Division against Chatham Town Division 1 South East. Oxford United of the Southern Premier Division against Luton Town of Division 1 South East. Bristol Rovers of South West against Fulham of South East. Oxford City of Tier 5 against Swindon Town. A perfect season so far for Swindon. That's going to be very tough for Oxford City. Watford against Saltdean United. Watford currently top of the Southern Premier Division, so technically the hardest team that Saltdean United could have faced in this round. That is what they are doing. Plymouth Argyle host Gwalior United. That's an all Southern Premier Division tie. And Burnley, top of the Northern Premier Division against Norwich City, who are currently going very well in South East. That has the potential to be a great game as well. Second page of Women's FA Cup fixtures. Middlesbrough of Tier 3 against Northampton Town of Tier 4. Middlesbrough, of course, won the last TV tie between themselves and Cheadle Town Stingers. Liverpool Feds of the Northern Premier Division against Boldmere St Michael's of Division 1 Midlands. Derby County of the Northern Premier Division against Stockport County from Division 1 North. York City against Wroxham. York City currently in Division 1 North, although not having the greatest of times with it. Wroxham, quite a trip for them from Norfolk up to York. West Bromwich Albion against Cambridge United. That is the Northern Premier Division against Division 1 South East. Sporting Cowser, Northern Premier Division against Hednesford Town of Tier 5. Mancunian Unity, Tier 5 against Durham Cestra of Division 1 North. Another all lower than FAWNL tie. Ponteland United against Altrincham. Altrincham Tier 6. If it wasn't for Leyton Orient, they'd be one of the lowest teams left in the competition. But Ponteland United of Tier 5 hosting Altrincham of Tier 6. Peterborough United of Division 1 Midlands, of course, going very well in Division 1 Midlands, top of the table at the moment against Wallsend BC. AFC Fylde against Kidderminster Harriers. AFC Fylde, of course, familiar with those on this show, have been in and out of the FAWNL. Leafield Athletic against Worcester City, all Division 1 Midlands tie. Stourbridge against Hull City. Stourbridge got that win this weekend. Can they carry that form through as they host Hull City of the Northern Premier Division? Huddersfield Town against Leeds United, and Wolverhampton Wanderers against Stoke City. That the Friday night game live on TV as well, so make sure you tune in for that. But those are the fixtures coming up in the next 7 days for the FAWNL side. So it's not all FAWNL competition this weekend. There is that huge second round draw for the women, ties for the Women's FA Cup. Third round draw will be next week as well. We'll look at that on next week's show as the championship sides come in, and of course the money shoots up as well when you get into the third round of the Women's FA Cup. Thank you for being with me this evening on the Women's Football Chat. Just one more thing, don't forget that you may have seen on our social medias at W Football Chat that we're currently still in the process of upgrading all the database for FM26 so that we can all play with anyone from the top 7 tiers. Tier 5 is now complete. We've made over 7,000 changes to the database, but Tier 5 is now complete. Tier 6 and 7 still to go. If you've got information, go over to at W Football Chat, and there's a link there to how to fill out the Google Docs, just make our lives a little bit easier. But thank you very much for being with me here on the Women's Football Chat on Switch Radio. Andrew Richards with his Alternative 80s show is with you after the news at 6.